Sky Island by FrankBaum. Chapter 1. A Mysterious Arrival. "Hello," said the boy. "Hello," answered Trot, looking up surprised. "Where did you come from?" "Philadelphia," said he. "Dear me," said Trot. "You're a long way from home, then." "About as far as I can get in this country," the boy replied, gazing out over the water. "Isn't this the Pacific Ocean?" "Of course." "Why, of course," he said. "Because it's the biggest lot of water in all the world." "How do you know?" "Cap'n Bill told me," she said. "Who's Cap'n Bill?" "An old sailor who's a friend of mine. He lives at my house, too. The white house you see over there on the bluff." "Oh, is that your home?" "Yes," said Trot proudly. "Isn't it pretty?" "It's pretty small, seems to me," answered the boy. "But it's big enough for Mother and me, and for Cap'n Bill," said Trot. "Haven't you any father?" "Yes, indeed. Captain Griffin is my father, but he's gone most of the time, sailing on his ship. You must be a stranger in these parts, little boy, not to know about Captain Griffin," she added, looking at her new acquaintance intently. Trot wasn't very big herself, but the boy was not quite as big as Trot. He was thin, with a rather pale complexion, and his blue eyes were round and earnest. He wore a blouse waist, a short jacket, and knickerbockers. Under his arm he held an old umbrella that was as tall as he was. Its covering had once been a thick brown cloth, but the color had faded to a dull drab, except in the creases, and Trot thought it looked very old-fashioned and common. The handle, though, was very curious. It was of wood, and carved to resemble an elephant's head. The long trunk of the elephant was curved to make a crook for the handle. The eyes of the beast were small red stones, and it had 2 tiny tusks of ivory. The boy's dress was rich and expensive, even to his fine silk stockings and tan shoes, but the umbrella looked old and disreputable. "It isn't the rainy season now," remarked Trot with a smile. The boy glanced at his umbrella and hugged it tighter. "No," he said, "but umbrellas are good for other things besides rain." "'Fraid of getting sunstruck?" asked Trot. He shook his head, still gazing far out over the water. "I don't believe this is bigger than any other ocean," said he. "I can't see any more of it than I can of the Atlantic." "You'd find out if you had to sail across it," she declared. "When I was in Chicago I saw Lake Michigan," he went on dreamily, "and it looked just as big as this water does." "Looks don't count with oceans," she asserted. "Your eyes can only see just so far, whether you're looking at a pond or a great sea." "Then it doesn't make any difference how big an ocean is," he replied. "What are those buildings over there?" pointing to the right along the shore of the bay. "That's the town," said Trot. "Most of the people earn their living by fishing. The town is half a mile from here, and my house is almost half a mile the other way, so it's about a mile from my house to the town." The boy sat down beside her on the flat rock. "Do you like girls?" asked Trot, making room for him. "Not very well," the boy replied. "Some of them are pretty good fellows, but not many. The girls with brothers are bossy, and the girls without brothers haven't any go to 'em. But the world's full of both kinds, and so I try to take 'em as they come. They can't help being girls, of course. Do you like boys?" "When they don't put on airs or get roughhoused," replied Trot. "My experience with boys is that they don't know much, but think they do." "That's true," he answered. "I don't like boys much better than I do girls, but some are all right, and you seem to be one of 'em." "Much obliged," laughed Trot. "You aren't so bad either, and if we don't turn out worse than we seem, we ought to be friends." He nodded, rather absently, and tossed a pebble into the water. "Been to town?" he asked. "Yes. Mother wanted some yarn from the store. She's knitting Cap'n Bill a stocking." Does he wear but one? That's all. Cap'n Bill has a wooden leg, she explained. That's why he don't sailor any more. I'm glad of it, 'cause Cap'n Bill knows everything. I suppose he knows more than anyone else in all the world. Whew, said the boy. That's taken a good deal for granted. A one-legged sailor can't know much. Why not? Asked Trot, a little indignantly. Folks don't learn things with their legs, do they? No, but they can't get around without legs to find out things. Cap'n Bill got round lively enough once, when he had 2 meat legs, she said. He sailed to most every country on the earth, and found out all that the people in 'em knew, and a lot besides. He was shipwrecked on a desert island once, and another time a cannibal king tried to boil him for dinner, and one day a shark chased him 7 leagues through the water, and... What's a league? Asked the boy. It's a distance, like a mile? But a league isn't a mile, you know. What is it then? You'll have to ask Captain Bill. He knows everything. Not everything, objected the boy. I know some things Cap'n Bill don't know. If you do, you're pretty smart, said Trot. No, I'm not smart. Some folks think I'm stupid. I guess I am. But I know a few things that are wonderful. Cap'n Bill may know more than I do, a good deal more, but I'm sure he can't know the same things. Say, what's your name? I'm Mary Griffith, but everybody calls me Trot. It's a nickname I got when I was a baby, 'cause I trotted so fast when I walked, and it seemed to stick. What's your name? Button-Bright. How did it happen? How did what happen? Such a funny name. The boy scowled a little. Just like your own nickname happened, he answered gloomily. My father once said I was bright as a button, and I made everybody laugh, so they always called me Button-Bright. What's your real name? She inquired. Saladin Paracelsus de Labertine Evagna von Smith. Guess I'll call you Button-Bright, said Trot, sighing. The only other thing would be salad, and I don't like salads. Don't you find it hard work to remember all your names? I don't try to, he said. There's a lot more of it, but I've forgotten the rest. Thank you, said Trot. Oh, here comes Cap'n Bill, as she glanced over her shoulder. Button-Bright turned also and looked solemnly at the old sailor, who came stumping along the path toward them. Cap'n Bill wasn't a very handsome man. He was old, not very tall, somewhat stout and chubby, with a round face, a bald head, and a scraggly fringe of reddish whisker underneath his chin. But his blue eyes were frank and merry, and his smile like a ray of sunshine. He wore a sailor shirt with a broad collar, a short pea jacket, and a wide-bottomed sailor trousers, one leg of which covered his wood limb, but did not hide it. As he came pegging along the path, as he himself described his hobbling walk, his hands were pushed inside his coat pockets, a pipe was in his mouth, and his black neck scarf was fluttering behind him in the breeze like a sable banner. Button-Bright liked the sailor's looks. There was something very winning, something jolly and carefree and honest and sociable about the ancient seaman that made him everybody's friend. So the strange boy was glad to meet him. Well, well, Trot, he said, coming up. Is this the way you hurry to town? No, for I'm on my way back, said she. I did hurry when I was going, Cap'n Bill, but on my way home I sat down here to rest and watch the gulls. The gulls seem awful busy today, Cap'n Bill. And then I found this boy. Cap'n Bill looked at the boy curiously. Don't think as I ever saw him at the village, he remarked. Guesses you're a stranger, my lad. Button-Bright nodded. "Hain't walked the 9 mile from the railroad station, have ye?" asked Cap'n Bill. "No," said Button-Bright. The sailor glanced around him. "Don't see no wagon, or no automobile," he added. "No," said Button-Bright. "Catch a ride wit someone?" Button-Bright shook his head. "A boat can't land here. The rocks is too thick and too sharp," continued Cap'n Bill, peering down towards the foot of the bluff on which they sat, and against which the waves broke in foam. "No," said Button-Bright. "I didn't come by water." Trot laughed. "He must have dropped from the sky, Cap'n Bill," she explained. Button-Bright nodded very seriously. "That's it," he said. "Oh, an airship, eh?" cried Cap'n Bill in surprise. "I've heard tell of them sky carriages. Something like flying automobiles, ain't they?" "I don't know," said Button-Bright. "I've never seen one." Both Trot and Cap'n Bill now looked at the boy in astonishment. "Now then, let me think a minute," said the sailor reflectively. "Here's a riddle for us to guess. Trot, he dropped from the sky, he says, and yet he didn't come in an airship. Riddle come, ree. What can the answer be?" Trot looked the boy over carefully. She didn't see any wings on him. The only queer thing about him was his big umbrella. "Oh!" she said suddenly, clapping her hands together. "I know now." "Do you?" asked Captain Bill doubtfully. "Then you're some smarter ner I am, mate. He sailed down with the umbrell!" she cried. "He used his umbrell as a shoot," said Captain Bill. "They're called parachutes, mate. But why, I can't say. Did you drop down in that way, my lad?" he asked the boy. "Yes," said Button-Bright. "That was the way." "But how did you get up there?" asked Trot. "You had to get up in the air before you could drop down. And, oh, Cap'n Bill, he says he's from Philadelphy, which is a big city way at the other end of America." "Are you?" asked the sailor, surprised. Button-Bright nodded again. "I ought to tell you my story," he said, "and then you'd understand. But I'm afraid you won't believe me, and—" He suddenly broke off and looked toward the White House in the distance. "Didn't you say you lived over there?" he inquired. "Yes," said Trot. "Won't you come home with us?" "I'd like to," replied Button-Bright. "All right. Let's go then," said the girl, jumping up. The three walked silently along the path. The old sailor-man had refilled his pipe and lighted it again, and he smoked thoughtfully as he pegged along beside the children. "Know anyone around here?" he asked Button-Bright. "No one but you two," said the boy, following after Trot, with his umbrella tucked carefully underneath his arm. "And you don't know us very well," remarked Cap'n Bill. "Seems to me you're pretty young to be traveling so far from home and among strangers. But I won't say anything more till we've heard your story. Then, if you need my advice, or Trot's advice, she's a wise little girl for her size. Trot is. We'll freely give it and be glad to help you." "Thank you," replied Button-Bright. "I need a lot of things, I'm sure, and p'raps advice is one of 'em." End of Chapter 1. A Mysterious Arrival. Recording by Angelia Potter.